Hello and welcome to the Team of the Week podcast here at Queggs Wakefield. We are in Spilsbury with the lovely Queggs badge behind us. I've been joined by Mr. Marson for this debut edition, where we will go through the choices by all the coaches from the last week's rugby performances. Welcome, sir.
It's going to go well. It's only going to go well.
Looking forward to this.
Strong results this week. It should be quite an easy one for us, I think, because there's a lot of strong contenders, big performances. Let's get into it.
I'd like to clarify as well that if you have not been selected through the Team of the Week process, that does not mean you haven't played well. These are just the standout performers. And how it works, we have designated a number of positions to each coaching staff, and they have chosen their selections from there. Yep. So we'll start. Number 1, loose head prop, Will Dobson, selected by Mr. Cook for his ball carrying ability and his dominant collisions in defence, which is fairly standard of the Dobson family.
I was going to say, if there's one trait that kind of you could expect to be delivered on there, it would absolutely be big ball carrying from Will Dobson. Real load of mass in that front row. You're going to get some direct running, aren't you? It's a good performance from the first in general against a tough Peters side.
Absolutely. Just, I think they tailed away a bit, maybe back end of Wednesday as well.
Yeah, still recovering from the G-Sal game midweek, but a big win there, and away at Peters at first team level is always going to be a tough place to go anyway. So I think that's a strong outing at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're moving into number 2. So hooker, no surprises here, from the under-15s A squad, Miles English, chosen by Mr. Wolfenden, who covered Mr. Tiffany on Saturday, for his ever-present again ball carrying ability, and he always puts in a big shot. But having worked with him last year, you aren't surprised to hear that about Miles.
I'm not surprised to hear that about Miles at all. He is just an absolute enigma on a pitch. There's no phase of play that occurs that he's not going to get himself involved, whether it's getting his hands on the ball, whether it's breaking up play, turnovers. And I think it was good as well as a real kind of linchpin within that side to see them return to winning ways. I think he's got a lot to offer. So that's, I don't think, going to be the last time we hear his name in this Team of the Week this year. Good player. Really Absolutely. Good player.
I'll let you take over from here.
Henry Giles, under 13A. It's been a good start for the 13s this year, hasn't it? Mr. Everett's really, really happy with them. Dominated the scrum, powerful ball carrying. Again, what we're going to expect from those front rowers. I think if what I grasp is correct about that side, they've got a really, really dynamic team.
Yeah.
Not a load of massive size, but from 1 to 15, a load of agile players who are going to really kind of work the opposition around. So Peters clearly couldn't hang with Henry Giles this week.
No, and I think the good thing about Henry is this can be taken one of two ways, but it's refreshing to see someone who is just an out-and-out front rower.
Yeah.
Like, he is a tight head, loose head, whichever way you want to put him. He is, his body's shape, over the ball, really strong. Scrummaging, as Mr. Everett pointed out, is a real force with him. And he's also really good in the loose, so he offers quite a lot there.
Having that level of technical ability at that age, being able to utilise your size effectively is a really, really good thing as well, because scrummaging is difficult to do.
Absolutely.
Coming from a winger, scrummaging is difficult.
All that experience of
absolutely.
Back rows.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. So you move on. Oscar Childs, obviously from your team,
was the easiest pick I think I'm going to have all season, because there's just, across the remainder of this season, going to be a trail of very, very, very sad opposition players who will reminisce about the day that they met Oscar Childs. He has just an unbelievable forte for picking the exact moment as that hospital pass comes in and the poor bloke turns himself towards the oncoming demonic force that is just going to annihilate any opposition centre in front of him. He put in, refereeing the game, it was a rarity where I have a game go by where I've got so many times where I need to say the hit is absolutely clean, there's nothing wrong with it, because the entire collective sideline is just going, ooh, like wind leaving the space. Real dynamic performance. Just aggressive.
It's good to see him putting that sort of physical growth that he's had over the last sort of couple of years into his performances.
It's not a trait you'd normally attribute to a wicket-keeper.
No.
Just endless.
Wicket-keeper batsman, also
absolutely.
Absolute machine in defence.
Complete sportsman, going well. So, Oscar, keep up the good work. a decent performance for the 14s. Again, against tough opposition, coming away with a 21-point victory is always going to be a positive, but still things to work on. So yeah, as collective team performance, decent, but yeah, Oscar Childs will stand out. Really, really good there.
Yeah, of course. So well done to Oscar. Moving into the other second row position, we have got a nomination from Mr. Pearson in the second 15 for Xander Leighton for his captaincy, which is quite surprising, I'd say, for Xander. He'll know what I mean by when I say that.
Newly found maturity.
Yes. But something I would expect from Xander is leading by example on the field.
You've taken the words completely out of my mouth in terms of physicality and aggression and commitment to going forwards above all else. I'd certainly expect him to be setting the standards on that front. Loads to offer.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
A good shift.
Definitely.
On to one of yours.
Yeah, so back row, 6, Shalom for Bayi, which is a position that was new to him.
Big shift.
From a usual back three, winger, fullback type player.
Great
I thought
feat.
I'd just put him in a position where there's not really too much to the game. It's just I wanted him to get around the park, make his tackles, make his carries, and that's exactly what he did. And he even went off at one point because of the collision he put in. I think actually shook him a bit as well.
Yeah.
He had to go off for a couple of minutes. It was so big. But to stand up in a new role that he'd never played before against a tough opposition, I thought he really deserved a spot in the team of the week.
He's got such a good all-round skill set if he can hone himself into that back row position. Because obviously, being relatively low to the ground, good centre of mass, great feet, and agile to get in over the ball, puts himself about as well, as you said.
That's the thing that surprises you. You probably look at his frame and you think, as you say, winger, sort of type play, but he can put in a hit. And I think St. Peter's certainly knew that they've been in a game, having been dealing with Shalom.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. Right. Ollie Marshall.
Under 12s.
Tate 10s, under 12s. This Sunday, just gone. Myself and Mr. Lewis up at Barnard Castle. And a tough day all in all. Some really, really strong opposition, difficult weather conditions, early in the season. Absolute standout player. That real balance between looking to carry with force and with impact, but also when space opens up, he's got a real ability to kind of switch it on. Got some good gas behind him. Very, very physical runner. Has a handoff in his game. Has a dummy in his game. Scored countless tries. I think he finished the tournament with 5 or 6. And every team was nominating their player of the season or player of the game, as they do at Tate 10s.
Yeah.
And it really, really wouldn't surprise me if he was right up there in the running for player of the tournament at the end of it. Absolute shift all day. Really
I think he would epitomise that side. Very physical.
Yeah.
And love to go forward anyway.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
No, definitely. As you would be at that age, rough edges to smooth out, but in terms of a raw athlete and capabilities, he's going to have a really, really high ceiling. Played really, really well. My first time watching him, and certainly someone who I've come away with thinking that he's got a real future there.
Potential there.
Yeah.
Number 8, Oliver Strang, not a number 8. He didn't play at number 8, but I thought the centres were already made up.
Yeah.
I'll put him at number 8 because he performed so well again.
I think he could. I think he could do a job at 8.
He could do a job. He could do a job at tight end, really, couldn't he?
He's one of those, again, natural sportsmen where you look at him on a rugby field, you look at him on a cricket square, you look at him on the first tee. Very good golfer. But
relevant to the team of the week selection.
Definitely relevant. Absolutely. Able to line up that putt miles away. But from a number 8 perspective, or just in terms of his general play, I think he's a lad who, certainly playing in the Bs this week, having had a conversation with him, he's someone who's really looking to try and push and nail himself down into that A-team squad. Because obviously it's such a strong year group and it's so competitive. But he's certainly someone who will be, I think, knocking on that door for Mr. Tiffany. Certainly someone who last year was always looking to try and make an impact when he was on the pitch.
Well, he's a massive part of that cup squad.
Definitely. Not surprised to see him in there at all.
Yeah, I picked him sort of a different reason. Obviously defence and ball carrying is a given with Strangy, but his ability to identify a weak ruck position really surprised me. And I think, that experience of playing at the high level in the A-team, he was identifying a weak sort of body position over the ball, and he was just smashing through it. He must have got 7 or 8 counter rucks, and I don't think St. Peter's were clocking as to why he was doing that. And then at half time, and he specifically made a point of they're not, which is unlike St. Peter's over the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They were quite just soft, not soft, but like just sort of resting on it rather than being strong
being passive with it,
smashing through it, and he deserved his spot at number 8, 13, wherever you want to put it.
Does bring that real aggression, and if he sees a weakness, it doesn't surprise me at all he's going to go with it. Yeah, absolutely. Right, so
the backs,
where we feel more comfortable.
Still not scrum half though.
Definitely not scrum half.
Unlike in the backs. Ben Marson is at 9.
Ben Marson at 9. Good. Good distribution. Always finding space. One of the big things that I think is going to set him in a strong position for this season, he's got a really good ability as a young 9 to look up and scan the play before he gets to the ruck. He's ahead of time. He's looking ahead at where the next phase is going to be before it happens. And having that awareness at his young age, I think is a really, really good sign. It's something that certainly the likes of, a couple of lads who we're going to come on to are really going to benefit from in terms of being able to exploit space out wide and use that lightning backline that the under-13s have got this season. Because, him putting in a shift at this early stage in the season, I think that bodes really, really well for them.
I don't have anything to add to that. We'll move on to number 10, Will Heath. First team selection. Well done to Will, of course. Picked for his ability to manage the game on Saturday. Obviously, the result didn't end being the way that we would have wanted to, but Mr. Cook said that that initial first half or so, when we took a good lead there, he really stood up, and it's good to see that. He's, I think, as a year 13 now, growing into that 10 position. That's never easy.
No,
never easy to sort of take control of, but he's growing into the role.
It's certainly something that I think in recent years, or ever since I've been at Quegs, it's been a real bugbear to see the senior squads just always struggling to play the game in the right areas of the field and having that awareness to dictate where the game is played. And Will is certainly, with the boot that he's got, with the vision that he's got,
left footer as well.
Absolutely. It gives you that extra dimension to be able to hit corners and play space that little bit better. And I think that Will being able to maintain that and continue pinning oppositions back, knowing when to play and when to just get rid is going to be a vital part of that continued push for the first this season.
And playing in the right areas might be a key part of their next cup game against Kirkham.
You'd imagine so. Territory being key there.
Absolutely.
Let the big boys try and run in from 80 metres every single time. That could be a game plan,
So we'll move on to another left-footed 10-12 option, but I don't think there'll be any surprise that Will Hunter has finally made a Team of the Week nomination for his performance as the second team fly half on Saturday. Obviously playing as an under-16, there's a big cohort of 16s playing in that second team this year, which is good to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mr. Pearson's words, Will, was a kicking masterclass, is what you put in on Saturday. So that's good words to be hearing.
Well, it's one of those where, obviously, having had him a couple of years ago, Will's in that amazing position as a kind of controlling playmaker of having his league skill set really back up what he can do on a union pitch, because the versatility that comes with his kicking, he's a good goal kicker. He's consistent with an interesting technique.
Yes.
But then in terms of his open play kicking, he's got the full range. He's got a really, really clean clearance kick, finds touches really well, but has that dynamic edge where he can be really aggressive with his kick. He's got a great grubber, great chip and chase.
Yeah.
When he sees that space,
as well,
100%, not afraid at all to push the boat out and attack in ways that a lot of the other players might not necessarily want to utilise or be able to utilise. So I think that Will's certainly going to be a player.
Uber competitive as well. You'll never take that edge away from it.
Love it.
As a Grovian, you'll love a bit of that.
Let's keep that quiet. Right. One of the future star boys. Absolute future star boys. AO. Under 13, 18, centre. What can you say about him as an individual? Just absolute prime athlete.
Yeah.
Quick, agile footballer alongside his rugby, so you know that he reads space well.
Yeah.
He's one of those players where catches the ball, looks like he has got all of the time in the world. He's just going to drift across that gap between 12-13 channel, and the second that 13 bites or 12 hangs back ever so slightly, show and go through the gap, and you're never going to see him again because he's going to be under the sticks before you can blink.
Yeah, so he's one who leads again on the field with what he does by example. But Mr. Everett said that when they went behind, he sort of took the game by the scruff of the neck and led really well, verbally as well with his side. And I think with Io, he can do whatever. If you say to him, right, all I want you to do today is distribute. Yeah. He has the mindset to just go, yeah, it's not about me. If I need to play at 10 and pass around, I'll do that. But then when it matters, specifically I remember a year 7 comp last year at the Sevens, we were 3-2 down against Woody Grove. I think it was the last minute, and he just went, you know what, we need to score here. Just bang through a gap.
He's a real team player.
Try scorer.
He's a real as under 14s coach, knowing that Rosslyn Park's coming up at the end of this year, he is certainly someone that I'm keeping a very, very close eye on, because you talk about electric, that he's certainly someone who can, regardless of the age grade, he's got something to add.
Some star words for a star boy there.
Absolutely. Right, Orrin Wood.
Here.
Orrin Wood.
The back three.
Yeah, no. Ever since the start of this year, just been really, really switched on. Really keen to learn. Focuses on every aspect of every drill that you're doing, looking to improve. And based on what Mr. Hodgson's had to say about his performance this weekend, just really impactful in everything that he did, whether it's hitting a ruck, whether it's running into space, organising teammates, because obviously you've got a kind of a real mix in terms of rugby experience within that under 14B team. He is certainly going to be a stalwart of that team this year. He's got loads to add. And overall,
been training with some, Orrin won't mind me saying that in terms of the overall size of that squad, he's one of the smaller players, and he has to deal with some absolute monsters.
But you wouldn't know it, because he really puts himself about. I think you're absolutely bang on with that. But yeah, not someone to shy away from it at all. And looking at the comments from Mr. Hodgson, strong running and tackling. It's Quegs 101, that, isn't it? So
part of the team that won 68-0 on Saturday. It's a big result
for
Quegs there.
Yeah, definitely.
Woody. Number 14, Thomas Wood. What can we say about Thomas Wood? Having had him in a cricket context for a season last year, I can say he's quite a character. Obviously, we know both the Woods now, because having done the first team as well. But the thought of him scoring the winning try, which is Mr. Everett's pointed out here, I can imagine the sort of celebrations that were going on for when he went over the line to score the try.
If we go back to Will Hunter ever so briefly, you talk about breathing competitive nature. Woody is in that exact same mould. I don't think you could be pulling a cracker on Christmas Day and he's going to let you know if he's won it, because he is a serious competitor. If he's scored a winning try, I would imagine that'll be ringing around the Wood household for a few weeks to come yet, because he's another real sportsman to keep an eye on. So a good start to the season for Woody.
Another one from that under-13s group that seems to be really coming through.
Yeah, they seem like they're a good crop. It'll be a really interesting dynamic as they move through the school to see how the current 15s, 14s, 13s will kind of gel together, because there's some real
talent there.
Yeah, some real players there coming through.
And round us off, fullback.
Finally, yeah, absolutely. Another one from the under-12s, Alfie Worth. Didn't manage to catch his game midweek against St. Peter's, so this is primarily drawn from, again, yesterday as we're filming this on Monday. His performance at the Tate 10s, slotting in at 10 in a changed under-12 side, and after a couple of really tough opening results against a very strong and physical Prince Henry side and a really powerful RGS Newcastle side, really helped organise and take the games that followed that by the scruff of the neck, really helping to create space out wide, distributing the ball well, giving them a level of control that I think they'd struggled to grasp in those opening couple of games, giving them momentum, drive, and organisation that then enabled them to finish the day on a real positive with, after those tough opening 2 games, coming home at the end of the day with a 4-2 record. And winning 4 on the bounce. I think Alfie was a fundamental part of that in helping to rebalance that side and regain some composure after a tough start. So
yeah, I'm sure Mr. Lewis would reiterate that those points as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
There we go.
So that is the 15. We'll put it on the screen for you now. The second team of the week. We will obviously be looking at the hockey once their season gets up and running next week. So we'll have different guests, probably Mr. Anderson or Mr. Leask, whoever is available.
They'll have
Mr.
plenty
Stiff,
to add.
Mr. Lister.
Yeah.
Plenty of options there. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. It's a debut here. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Masterson.
Not a problem. Look
See
forward
you
to doing it
all
again.
next time.
Cheers, guys.